Live soon. Sorry again. I think it is fair to say this was the only technical glitch allowed for the whole Congress period. So we had it. This was a 5 minutes delay. So with those moments, I think we are ready to start now. Just looking at my colleague. Hello, dear ALDE friends, and welcome to this online debate of the ALDE Party Bureau candidates. My name is Diederik de Schatzen, and I work for you. I'm the Deputy Secretary General of the ALDE Party, and I have a real challenge. I have the difficult task to try to get as much meaningful time from our candidates to present themselves, but also to answer your questions. And I see the chat is already very lively. Thank you for that. Please continue. But we do have 60 minutes, so I will speak very little and very fast. First of all, thanks again for all the candidates for having made yourself available in such short notice. Some of you have some important votes to attend to and might have to leave a bit earlier, which is fully understandable given the circumstances. Now, this online debate, it's part of a series, right? So we have the online debate today, but as of now, until 2nd of June, all our candidates are reachable. If you have some questions, there's a specific section on aldeparty.eu/congress where you have their social media. You can also access their email address, and for that you can reach out. Step number 2. Step number 3, that's the big debate, the Friday 3rd June in Dublin from 10:30 to 11:30 local time. As per statutes, the deadline for nomination was Friday the 13th of May, and the Secretariat received the following nominations. For the ALDE presidency, we got the ticket by Timmy Dooley, Senator of Fianna Fáil from Ireland, and Ilian Kuchuk, MEP from MRF, Bulgaria. For ALDE vice presidency, we have 5 positions available and received 6 candidates. Baroness Sal Brinton of the United Kingdom, Daniel Berg, Momentum, Hungary, Svenja Hahn, FDP, Germany, Kira Rudik from Golos, Ukraine, Stürgkh from NEOS, Austria, and Annelou van Egmond, D66, the Netherlands. I have 2 people here in the room with me that will collect your questions that are online, and the candidates have maximum 3 to 4 minutes to answer, and I know I will be working soon for most of you, but still, if you do extend your time, I might have to point it out to you. With those words, let's start with Ilian Kuchuk, candidates with Timmy Dooley for the co-presidency of the ALDE Party. Ilhan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Diederik, and thank you so much, Niels, for putting a great idea to have this pre-debate before the real debate in Dublin. And I would like to warmly welcome you to this conversation to get a chance to know all of the candidates ahead of our Congress in Dublin next week. As you are aware, by now, Tim and I are the only nominated candidates for the position of ALDE party president. We have decided to form a team of co-presidents to continue to serve our party. This is a great honor for us, and we are grateful for the support we have already received in our campaign. We know our candidacy is quite unique. Yes, the ALDE party has never had 2 co-presidents, but never before has liberalism been under threat as it is today. We're living history. This is why changing circumstances must be followed by changing strategies. The times require all our hands on the deck approach. A new way of ALDE leadership is urgently needed to meet head on the cold winds of autocracy and illiberalism that will destroy our continent if we don't fight back. We are passionate about Europe. We believe in the European project. We believe that liberals must unite to make Europe stronger at home and abroad. We also believe that ALDE was not only created to be in a competition with our national parties, was not created to be in a competition with our national parties. ALDE's role is to enable dialogue, to build capacity, to share best practices, and to develop common positions among the national parties to bring about change at the European level. Since the tragic passing of our dear friend Hans van Baalen, Timmy and I have worked day and night to advance our liberal movement. Much has been achieved, but we cannot get comfortable. We face enormous challenges ahead of the European elections, from the war in Ukraine to the cost of living crisis many Europeans are facing today, to the screening effects of climate change.
So great to be here online with so many ALDE members, and I'm really looking forward to meeting as many of you as possible. And my party, Fianna Fáil, welcomes ALDE to Dublin next week for our Congress. This is a very important Congress, not simply because it's our first since COVID struck, but because the Bureau that you elect as members next week will be the Bureau that gets us ready as a party and as a series of parties to fight the next set of European elections. So by now, as you know, it's Ilhan and I are the only ones nominated to contest the presidential election, but we're treating this as a campaign. We want to show you, the members, what we have in mind, what we want to do, and how we will do that job. We have a major challenge ahead, as due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we must catch up in terms of our preparations for the next elections, and that requires a new and a different type of leadership. I suppose it's been difficult, and sometimes that not so glamorous part of leading ALDE doesn't get coverage, but supporting our member parties has been our central objective over the past number of months. And that's what Ilhan and I have concentrated on. And that's what we intend to do over the coming period. We were honoured indeed that President Zelensky's party, Servant of the People, is now part of our Liberal family, joining our friends from other Ukrainian parties, of which Olas and others are really very much part of it. Ilhan and I worked hard on that project because growing our Liberal family in every country of our diverse and beautiful continent is without a doubt a priority for us. And as a candidate for president, I want to make it very clear that simply fighting elections is not good enough, in my opinion. Our objective should be to win the elections and break the stronghold that Conservatives and Socialists have had on our European Union since its foundation. We as Liberals know that, and we just can't stand back from the fight anymore. That means getting back to the basics in terms of what ALDE is about. We're an alliance of like-minded political parties committed to liberalism and indeed democratic values. And our objective is to promote our values by ensuring that our member parties can win power in their countries and have real effect on systemic change. So myself and Ilhan have three main priorities for our presidency. First, we must make ALDE the most modern, efficient and effective of the Euro parties. We need to learn from our own established, long-time members who have a tradition of winning elections and governing. And indeed, we must also learn from our younger parties that operate more successfully, I suppose, a little bit like startup companies. Second, we must increase the support of our national parties in all elections, not just the European elections. We must also and especially support our members outside the EU and in those countries that aspire to join. We must enable the sharing of experience while providing our members with the skills and technology to fight. And it's not just about fighting, it's about winning as well. And I suppose the third point, we have to prepare for the 2024 European elections and decide on a political framework with like-minded forces. We must fight like Liberals in that campaign. We must fight like Liberals not only to maintain our position as the third largest party, but I have long time held, as indeed has Ilhan, we don't have to be confined to third place. Let's challenge ourselves and let's move towards second. And why not aspire to be the biggest party in Europe in due course? So both Ilhan and I, and our ambition has been very clear. We want ALDE, and that is an ALDE that's fit for purpose, that is committed to strengthening our member parties and by showing benefit for the membership fees that our member parties pay. Beefing up our policy support, the sharing of good practice and good ideas, as Ilhan has said. And we want ALDE, whose primary focus is electing as many Liberals as possible in every legislature in Europe, including those outside the EU. So again, just in conclusion, I'm looking forward to meeting all of you over the next number of days, and certainly in the period of time that you will be in Dublin. And on behalf of my party and our Prime Minister, Micheál Martin, who's in Davos this week, we cannot wait to show you what Dublin and Ireland has to offer as we set about celebrating Ireland's 50th year and its European membership. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Timmy, and thank you to both of you. You've actually respected the deadline, so no pressure to the vice presidential candidates, but now I definitely have an opportunity to be tough. We will start with the first speaker, which is Baroness Sal Brinton, candidates from the Liberal Democrats of the United Kingdom, who might have to leave slightly before the end of this debate because she has an urgent question to ask to a minister and exercise her power of opposition. Sal, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Diedrich. I think we can all say, those of us who have served on the Bureau over the last 2.5 years, that it's been a term like no other. The pandemic disrupted things. Life certainly wasn't normal. But I think one thing we have all learned to do is to be able to communicate much more effectively online than we ever thought possible. And I think it's broken down the miles between us. And I've certainly been able to talk to many colleagues right across Europe, more than would have been possible by taking my wheelchair on a train or on a plane and getting around Europe. I've got three major themes that I want to speak very briefly on for my campaign to win a second term. I want us to prepare for the new Europe. I want us to stand up for liberal principles. And I want to continue to campaign for a liberal Europe and see further success for us. I think before Christmas, if you'd asked us, we would have talked about how ALDE has been strengthening the liberal position both in the EU and in wider Europe. But Europe is now at a crossroads. Putin's invasion of the Ukraine has made us all completely rethink everything about what Europe stands for and how we can work together. So much has changed. Our discussions about a new Europe are also going to absolutely have to change. So I want us to reach out more to liberal and democratic parties who share our values, especially those who are facing populist governments who may persecute those who oppose them. One very brief word on Brexit. The current crisis in Northern Ireland is entirely of the UK Conservative government's lies, and the EU is being treated very badly. And the Lib Dems across the various UK parliaments are calling out our government on its lies and poor behaviour, and delighted to be able to work with Fianna Fáil and the Alliance Party of Northern Ireland. But I think there's one lesson that I hope the rest of Europe has learned. Brexit is so bad for the UK, it's shown the rest of Europe that it needs to stand together. And as a Liberal Democrat on the Bureau, I do keep reminding colleagues of that. And be in no doubt, we're fighting for the UK's place back in the EU in due course. ALDE should rightly be proud of creating its Women's Leadership Academy, and I'm especially proud that at this Dublin Congress, we're going to be launching the Rainbow platform for our LGBTI members. And ALDE needs to continue to support members from underrepresented groups. And I'm also keen to see that stretch to the other two main underrepresented groups in politics, that's Black and ethnic minority groupings, and also disabled people. We need to look like the Europe that we want to represent, and I'll hope to be able to do some more work on that. Finally, campaigning for a liberal Europe, working with sister parties across Europe, whether in the EU or out of it. We all face elections all the time. And ALDE's strength, I think, is working together to help ensure that each of our member parties has the tools it needs to become more successful. We must continue to fight like liberals to defeat populism and prejudice, and to strengthen our own position too.
Thank you very much, Baroness Brinton, for your intervention. Next is Annelou van Egmond, D66, the Netherlands.
Thank you. And I'm just going to pick up right where Sal left us, electoral victories. I have been on the board already for 2 terms. I'd love to get elected for a 3rd term, not to do new things, but to keep doing what I've been doing so far. And that is helping all member parties who need it or want it, who like to be inspired with preparing for electoral victories. I have been doing that for a decade for my own party, for D66. I've got the knowledge, I've got the experience, and I'm very willing, and I have the ambition to share that with anyone who needs it. Because I think every seat counts, be it a local seat, a regional seat, a national seat, European elections, okay. But I'm not just talking about seats within the EU, everywhere in Europe. Sal also briefly mentioned the alliance of her. You know, if we're winning those seats, how great would it be if many of these seats would be then occupied by female liberal leaders? The first female liberal leader of my party, Els Borst, always said, politics are way too important to leave it up to men. And I strongly think that that is something we should live by. But today I was always thinking about my motivation, because, you know, why do I want to keep doing this? And I was preparing today for another debate that we have after this one that has to do with the next step that we're going to take with the results of the conference on the future of Europe. And you can immediately see that there's a very strong link between the future of Europe and the future of the EU. But you can also immediately see that it is not the same, sadly sometimes, but it is not the same. And I don't want to pretend that the EU is more important than Europe. Europe is a lot bigger than that. And I have, over the last years, stood up for the smaller and newer members of ALDE who are, if you look at it from with a pair of Brussels spectacles on, are on the fringes of Europe. But actually, they're in the very heart of the fight that we are fighting today, the fight for freedom and the fight for democracy. And they need our support. They can count on my support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annelou. The next intervention is from Daniel Berg from Momentum Hungary.
Thank you very much, Diederik, and thanks to the colleagues for organizing this event, and thanks to the viewers for joining us. It's been a great honor and privilege for me in the last 2 years to represent you as your vice president. And I think that despite all the instability and uncertainty, we do have quite a bit to be proud of, as we liberals have led the way on key issues like the rule of law, climate change, and most recently, supporting Ukraine. And I think this is also an opportunity. We now have a chance not only to preserve our position as one of the most influential EU parties, but also to make significant gains in the future. But for that, we have much work to do because the road to 2024 begins now in 2022. So I ask that you support my re-election bid so I may focus on 3 key priorities, which will help our efforts. And the first one may not be surprising as a Hungarian. I believe it's time to take the fight to far-right authoritarians like Orban, Kaczynski, and Le Pen. Liberals have so far driven the rule of law debate, and many of our leaders have been determined opponents of authoritarianism. And I myself have fought with my party for the rule of law and civil rights in Hungary for the past 5 years. But there's still this criticism that Europe is at best slow to act and at worst impotent against authoritarianism within its own borders. So I think it really is time to take the fight to them. Authoritarians are not interested in words and values. They only understand the language of power. And it's particularly important to draw the line now, here and no further, when these people are openly or tacitly supporting the rape and murder of Ukrainian civilians. So I believe we must continue to be the most determined opponents of authoritarians, but we must also become the strongest and most viable pro-European alternative to them. And that leads me to my second point, which is building a strong European campaign based on strong partnerships. By uniting liberal and centrist forces like Renaissance and EDP, we can run a strong campaign and make significant gains leading to large representation in 2024. Any such partnership must, of course, be fair and equal and well-grounded in our liberal identity and our values. ALDE Party is and must remain the liberal transnational party of Europe, but we must also spread out, change, and adapt to changing times with new partners. So I pledge that to work on that as well as vice president. And last but not least, as you know, I'm from Momentum, which is a liberal startup. We started out in a moldy basement, a group of students, and now we're a national party, a European party with MEPs, representatives in parliament, mayors, and so forth. It's my goal to find the next generation of liberal startups and give the support that ALDE gave to us to them as well, so we can see more success stories. And also, we have to support our member parties and give them tailored support, which fits their political context and their needs at the time. So I very much hope to meet you in person in Dublin and to continue this discussion. And if you agree with these priorities, I ask that you support my re-election bid. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And now we'll go back for those really following the alphabetical order. And the next one is Svenja Hahn from FDP, Germany.
Thank you very much, Diederik, and thank you very much, colleagues. It's really inspiring to hear all those ideas. And thank you for everyone who feels so interested in European politics that they want to spend their afternoon with us. I think this is always the greatest honor. My name is Svenja Hahn. I'm 32 years old. I'm from Germany, and I'm a member of the European Parliament. And when I was preparing for this candidacy, I was listing my experience and going through that. And I realized I actually joined the Liberal family when I was 20, so 12 years ago. And I realized more than 8 years I have already been involved with ALDE. I have been able to join events, to participate in trainings ALDE is hosting, for example, for communication experts, which is my profession before I joined the parliament. but also we have experienced a lot of the variety of liberalism in Europe through my capacity when I was president of a European Liberal Youth Organization, LIMEC. In that time, I had the great honor to travel to almost every part of our continent, to meet with many young people, to meet with many organizations, big or small. So I felt I can really bring some experience to the table despite my relatively young age. I had the great honor to participate in the Women's Academy, European Women's Academy, how it was called back then, nowadays the Alliance of Her. I was an ex officio board member as LIMEC president, and I was member of the last manifesto committee preparing the elections. So I felt, okay, I'm ready to bring some experience to the table, but I'm also bringing something new, a new perspective. I'm bringing the European parliamentary experience and the insight and the connection, which I believe is really important to make our liberal voices from the party heard also in the parliament. And I really believe that ALDE is a great place. ALDE is a place of coming together, of learning together and growing together. But still, we can make it better. And that is why I have 3 priorities. I want to future-proof the ALDE Party, and I want to boost the liberal message, and I want us to win the 2024 elections. Future-proofing the ALDE Party. I think it is important that we have an efficient, smooth-running organization that has a transparent internal communication, but then also strengthens the next generation like we do with the Alliance of Her, but also the diversity of our party. I'm myself coming from a big party, but I have so many friends and colleagues, and I know the challenges that small parties have. I know the challenges that struggling parties have, because my party for itself was also struggling, but we fought back and now are a strong and reliable force in Germany. So I think this is something that we can jointly work on to strengthen ALDE as an organization. Second, I want us to boost the liberal message, which means we need to update our policy to new challenges. In a time where the big fight of our time is autocracy versus democracy, which is now even unfolding in a brutal battlefield in Europe, we need to see what policies are even fit to today. There are so many challenges, and we need to give a liberal answer to that. And of course, win the 2024 elections. This is a core priority for ALDE, and we can learn from each other. We can grow from each other. We can exchange best practices. And I believe we can do this even more and also have a great and inspiring manifesto, because in the end, it should be about liberals winning the heart and minds of Europeans. And this is what I want to dedicate my passion, my experience, and time to. Thank you very much.
And that was exactly 4 minutes, Svenja. Congratulations. You must have timed this. And the next speaker is Kira Rudik, Member of Parliament of Golosh in Ukraine. Kira, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kira Rudik, Member of Ukrainian Parliament and leader of the Liberal Party Golosh. We have been a member of ALDE for 2.5 years. And many of my colleagues already have talked about Ukraine as something that is bringing instability, something that is bringing change, something that is bringing our world upside down right now. And we need to be very realistic that for the next couple of years, the instability will just continue. And we would need to adapt to this instability and see the opportunities for all of us as members of liberal family to become stronger, to see how we can make sure that this instability works in our favor. My people are fighting the fight that is not the fight between Russia and Ukraine right now. We all know that, right? We are fighting for the democratic values. We are fighting for European values. We are fighting against autocracy. We are basically being the shield for the whole Europe. Because if Ukrainians would stop fighting this plague, the Russian soldiers and the Russian army, they would basically come to the next European countries that they will find suitable for them. So we will need all the help and support, first of all, to win this war. Second, we need to execute on our aim to join the EU. And I'm sure that you have all been a part of debates about how to get it to Ukraine, and I'm so thankful for everybody who supports us in this aim. Because I want to remind you that the aim to join EU and NATO is in Ukraine's constitution. And this is why this is one of the reasons why Putin attacked, because he demanded to change that. And my people decided not to do that. And this is why they are dying right now, every single day while we are talking. Just to make sure that things that used to be just the buzzwords for us, like we all use like 10 times a day, saying about democratic values, freedom, liberation, democracy, etc. These are actually the points that we are choosing to put our life on stake for. So that's why I do really believe that with Ukraine entering EU, or at least getting the candidacy within the next couple of months, will require to have a Ukraine representative on ALDE Party Bureau, and I would be extremely honored if I will be elected to serve there. I think I will be able to speed up the communication and all the processes to make sure that they are effective and efficient. I'm here actually right now in Davos, and I'm talking to the leaders of the whole world who are talking about economic changes, about the development of EU, about military change, but every single point ends up in saying, okay, we need to win the war in Ukraine first. And what I like the most about it is that people are saying we. We need to win the war in Ukraine first. We as a democratic community, we as a European community, we as a good part of the world. And then we will be asking ourselves questions of how to learn the lessons about this war. How did we get here with saying never again, and then making sure that it will be actually never again? How the European Union as an organization and how the Europe as a system needs to adapt to be standing to the new challenges that all these significant instability of the world will bring up. But, and I can be talking about Ukraine a lot, as you can imagine how hurtful and on one side and how hopeful on the other side the situation is, but I'm trying to look at it as an opportunity. And I really want to ask you to vote for me, not because I'm from Ukraine and it's war here, but because one of the things that we are talking about here in Davos is how innovative Ukraine is, how far we have come through the last 3 years in terms of digitalization, in terms of digital passport, in terms of all the services from the government that are put in the phone. So this is one of the main points of my campaign, saying that I will be concentrated not only on integrating Ukraine into the ALDE family and integrating Ukraine into European Union and making sure we all come as one big expanding liberal family, but also making sure that we are moving strides forward. And I see digitalization as one of these indicatives and as one of those directions. I come from IT myself. Before becoming a politician, I was a leader of an IT company, which we sold for over $1 billion to Amazon. So this is something that I know of, and I'm so eager to expand the areas where we can help out, share our experience in terms of digitalization and make obviously people's lives better, safer, and able to resist the evil that is coming from the east to us right now.
Thank you very much, Kira. Thank you. Maybe a last comment, because we have to round up. So very short line.
Sorry, the last one. It's a funny one. So here in Davos, so many people are saying, guys, while you are at war and like the Europe is rethinking, reconsidering, it's a fantastic time to push in the legislation parts that were never like, oh, it's not the time, it's not the time. Right now is the time, because right now we are having this recircling, regrouping, rechanging. So it is an opportunity inside the country, but I also believe it is an opportunity for the legislative changes in the other European countries as well. Thank you, and glory to Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Kira. And last but definitely not least is Anna Stürgkh. I'd like to thank you for your patience, but the good news is the audience is growing and growing on both our YouTube and Facebook channels. So Anna, the floor is yours.
Well, Dirk, thank you so much for the opportunity of introducing myself and my candidacy. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna. I am 28 years old, and I'm here today because I am ready to put in the work. When I was 19, a new political party was founded in Austria, a party that wanted to bring transparency to Austrian politics and hold politicians accountable for their actions and their inactions, a party called NEOS. And to be honest, I was quite skeptical. But at my first event, I met lots of people, like-minded people, who were ready to put in the work to change the system. So I quickly became a volunteer. And since then, I've gathered experience on different levels, from a campaign assistant to a campaign manager, from the board of NEOS and UNOS, our youth organization, to the president of the latter. I've learned to lead and to listen. I've learned to use and value continuity, but also enable innovation. And now I want to do my part in pushing ALDE and pushing our liberal agenda further. I know that won't always be easy. Despite everything that's happening in the world now, we also see ourselves confronted with a public that is frustrated, an ever more frustrated public, frustrated with the way that party politics work, with politicians who work more for their own good than our future. And if we want us liberals to be the answer to that, frustration, then we need to step up our game. We need to become more modern, bolder, and braver. If we want politics to be more than an ivory tower, we have to start with ourselves. I believe we have to make ALDE more transparent, more accessible, and also increase accountability. We can do that by, for example, and I've heard this from others before, give VPs their own individual portfolio. But also we need to work on our internal communication, provide regular updates from within the Bureau, provide easy to read reports, and offer full financial transparency, because only then will our member organizations actually feel ownership over ALDE. If we want politics to be about more than just power, we need to start with ourselves. ALDE can be an important platform for all European liberals to work together for a greater good, for a greater goal. But, and Timi has mentioned this before, we need to cater to all our member organizations, no matter where they are at in their development. And it can't just be top down. We need to provide our member organizations with opportunities to engage with each other meaningfully and exchange ideas, both on an organizational level and a policy level. We need to create room for debate so that we don't ever stop challenging ourselves, so that we don't ever stop moving forward. My party, NEOS, was founded in order to bring transparency to Austrian politics. And my party, NEOS, joined ALDE because, like the rest of the liberal family, we hold governments, we hold politicians to high standards. But we need to be most critical with ourselves. So it is about time that we raise our own standards high. It will be hard work, but now is the time. I've walked the walk before, and I'm ready to do it again with you, for ALDE and for a liberal Europe. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Anna, and thank you all for having pretty much respected the timing in good faith. So thanks to all of you. Now's the difficult part, right? We have a little bit more than 20 minutes. We have a number of questions, which is good news, but the problem is we won't be able to ask. So first point to you that will not have your question responded to, no despair. You can, between now and 2nd of June, ask the candidates directly via ALDE Party/Congress. And also on 3rd of June, you can join the debate in Dublin. So the first question will be to Sal Brinton, and it is from YouTube. And the actual question is, how do we ensure that Northern Ireland and the Republic do not become victims of Brexit? 1 minute, please, Sal. Thank you.
Gosh, one minute on the whole of the Northern Ireland Protocol and the difficulties of the Prime Minister of the UK saying he didn't want a border in the sea and then agreeing a border in the sea. The answer is that the majority of people in Northern Ireland think that the current arrangements work well. The Prime Minister and the DUP party in Northern Ireland are trying to hold the EU and Ireland and Northern Ireland hostage. And I'm afraid time will tell what happens. but the people I know in Northern Ireland are determined to be able to live the lives they want to, and they like the protocol. So we will make it work. There's going to be a lot of talk, a lot more than I could even say in 20 seconds, but we're fighting for it.
Thank you very much, Sal, for this question. The next one is actually from LinkedIn, and it's for Annelou van Egmond. How do you think you will be a good voice for parties inside and outside the European Parliament? You're still muted, Annelou. Just if you could just unmute. Thanks for the reflex, but okay. There you go.
There we are. Well, a lot of focus will go to the next European elections, and there should be a lot of focus on the European elections. But I strongly feel that it's not either or. Like we're not going to put all our eggs in one basket, because we also need to make sure that there's a very strong liberal footprint in countries outside of the EU, because those are our sort of alliances, and we also need to speak up on behalf of them. So I would strongly advise against using all our capacities and all our budget on this very important election that's coming up. I personally will do as much as I can to help in these elections, but I would strongly suggest that we also look at all the elections in other countries that are not yet member of the EU, that have been a member of the EU but are no longer, or that have never been a member of the EU and have no interest in becoming a member of the EU, but still have a big liberal family.
Thank you very much, Annelou. And the next question is for Ilhan from Facebook. My question concerns the enlargement of the EU to the Western Balkan countries. That's a good choice. In the EU Eastern Partnership, how should European liberals help countries that want EU membership?
We are helping already, not only Western Balkans, but Eastern Partnership, with organizing series of events, be it in Sarajevo or Ukraine, going there, helping our member parties. But also, I think we have to do more. And we are planning that for 23rd of June, together with our European friends. We want to invite the Western Balkan liberals to come and talk about the perspective. I do understand the Commission is very much focused on enlargement. But I don't want to repeat only the old slogans like the region is integral part of the European Union. The region historically and geographically belongs to the European civilizations. I'm fed up with this rhetoric. So we have to do something very concrete in terms of plan, but also in terms of incentives. And the rule of law should be very much focused our priority as liberals. So we keep the high democratic standards, we keep the rule of law as the key benchmark, but at the same time encourage the good developments in the region, encourage the process of democratization. And I'm satisfied with what we are doing, but I'm looking forward together with the team to do much more, and of course with the help of the Secretariat.
Thank you very much, Ilhan. And the next question comes from LinkedIn and is for Anna. Anna, how do you want to make ALDE stronger and make treating the European issues more important within our national parties?
I mean, the first one is a big one, isn't it? We could talk half an hour about it, how we can make ALDE stronger. I think, honestly, one of the things that I haven't only noticed myself, but also noticed in all my talks with other organizations, is that in many ways, ALDE now is sometimes too removed from the member organizations. And a lot of member organizations actually don't put in the work within ALDE. So like I said before, I think increasing ownership by, first of all, opening up ALDE, but also opening up the way that we work together with the member organizations. Because I think right now, a lot of times ALDE thinks very much within itself. So, it is nice to bring, for example, an ALDE event to a member state, but maybe that's actually not what is helpful for the member state itself and is only really much a self-fulfilling thing for ALDE. So I think we really need to start to listen to the member organizations, particularly on national levels, and really increase that, that conversation between the ALDE Bureau and the member organizations outside of Brussels. But like I've said before as well, I think one of the things that ALDE has a great opportunity for is creating this platform for member organizations. We've been in touch with many of our partner organizations, but usually through our own efforts, not through something that was created by ALDE. And so, how to make us stronger, and to answer the second question, how to make European issues more relevant within our parties. I think creating this this environment where the national organizations can learn from each other and work together. You know, if I'll take a very concrete example. If Austria is writing, or if NEOS is writing a new policy on environment, why should it be difficult for us to hear and learn what the other parties are doing? We're all fighting the same issues. So creating those platforms, because then all our member organizations will actually see what they have from this international community. Sorry, I'm seeing Didrik saying this is enough, but yeah, so I think increasing that will already help, but this is only first steps, obviously.
Thank you. I appreciate you. So my discreet sign, but thank you very much for your answer. Next one is a question for Timmy, and it's a big one, but you'll be able to answer shortly. It is about how to organize liberals in Europe, especially in the context of the likely rise of populism in the next few years as a consequence of the Russian aggression on Ukraine. What kind of leadership will you offer? In 1 minute, Timmy from Facebook. Thank you.
I think it's really, my answer is a continuation of what Anna has said. It has to be about working with the member party, because right from the time I joined the Bureau, or from the time my party joined ALDE, it was about ensuring that the member party was sacrosanct and was, to the fore. Because with the greatest will in the world, ALDE does not win elections in my country. ALDE is not on the ballot paper, but Fianna Fáil is. So the support that we got from the ALDE Secretariat and from the ALDE Party generally has been monumental in assisting us in returning to a position of strength and power. And it's that knowledge that I take from being a leader within a national party, being part of our national executive, being a member of parliament for such a prolonged period of time, gives me the capacity to utilize that experience with member parties and ensures that we can strengthen and grow our liberal family. And that's the way we'll beat populism. That's the way we'll beat aggression. It will be on the ballot papers in the member states and in those countries outside of the European Union. And others have talked about it. That's really important, that we concentrate on defeating the autocracies through the support for parties who want to be part of the liberal family in those countries.
Thank you very much, Timmy, for this. And the next question is for Daniel and is from YouTube. What do you plan to do in order to prepare ALDE for the 2024 Parliament elections? There you go, Daniel. Don't forget to unmute.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope it worked now. Yeah, great question and very important point. First and foremost, we have to, I think, have a conversation with our member parties, all of them who are running in the European elections, about what their goals are, and see what they think is a realistic goal to achieve to grow their support. Second, based on that, we have to aggregate and have a strategy that we develop with campaign professionals and experts on how to go forward and how to help our parties achieve these goals. As Timmy said, it's true that ALDE is not on the ballot, but I think that as the most pro-European party, we have a very important role in providing an umbrella which will lead our parties to success. And I think we're well placed to do that right now. So that's how I would approach that.
Thank you very much. And I was thinking the next question for Kira, again from YouTube. Do you think that the present Russian aggression needs to, again, that's their phrasing, needs closer and more federal cooperation between the EU member states?
Well, the current Russian aggression needs the accumulated forces of the whole world. And I'm not over-exaggerating here, because we are talking about not only European countries and not only United States. We are talking about the rest of the world that we are not usually talking about. And there is no easy way to win this war, and there is no easy way to rebuild the institutions so they can fit into the new structures that we will have. We are actually facing this crisis as a humanity. About the previous ideas, organizations and setups don't work, and that we will need to rethink things, very global things like global security system, like global justice systems, like organizations, international organizations like United Nations and the other ones. Are they even good, and what they are good for? So there will be many questions that we'll need to ask, and will have not only involve European parties into that, but we will have to become more global. And this is actually what where we are utilizing the situation in Ukraine, is in bringing in more and more countries that were pretty abstract that right now want to get involved.
Thank you very much, Kira, for this response. And the next one, I think, Svenja, you are guessing will be for you. It is one mostly addressed to you as a former, I guess, from the AOH, because how do you ensure that women are equally politically, economically, and socially represented in our party and in Europe? Svenja.
Well, that is a really, really broad question. And to be perfectly honest, I cannot do this alone. I'm coming from a very big party where we know that it takes some effort to get women engaged in politics. We see other parties that seem to have an easier time in that regard. So I think this is again a part where we can learn from each other best practices, experiences, and where we should not be too shy to take on new approaches. I believe the framework of the Alliance of Her is something really great, and I myself had the honor of being there. And just from my year alone into the European Parliament, we have been 4 ladies elected from this. So I think ALDE is already having quite some excellency in supporting young candidates, young change makers in that regard. I think it's especially important that we have a strong collaboration also with LIMEC in that regard to help strengthen the next generation. I believe the concept of having a youth class of the Alliance of Her is also a very strong work that ALDE is putting forward there. I think if we are having our very own events, we also need to ensure the diversity, which in my understanding of ALDE is not only gender-based, but also the diversity of our parties, and making sure that we support our parties, our national parties in doing that, because ALDE is only the umbrella organization. So we need to ensure the diversity in our member parties to make sure that ALDE is diverse.
Svenja, you know what? Your response was a little bit longer, but it's amazing that you managed to respond to a question we hadn't asked yet, because there was a question also addressed to you that as a young politician yourself, what can you do to bring EU politics closer to younger people? So congratulations on responding to questions. Thank you very much for that. And we will go for a second question for Annelou. That comes from YouTube again. What are the milestones you've achieved in the previous 4 years? And how do those lead up to your plans for the next 2 in 1 minute? Thank you.
Well, I think the biggest achievement was actually traveling to all the corners of Europe to go and actually talk to the people where they are and where they have to fight their fight. Because campaigning is not academics. Campaigning is, going there and actually doing the work, as Anna also said. What I also consider an achievement was that we had the difficult task of looking into the situation in Estonia. We now have Kallas as Prime Minister, but before that we had Jüri Ratas, and there were some issues because they are a very good and proud member of ALDE, but they were working together with a political party that does not respect the rule of law and does not respect the full rights of minorities. And after some debate and some discussions, we have managed to sort of push them a little bit into the direction that I would think is more up to scratch to the ALDE values.
Thank you very much, Annelou, for this. And next question now is for Ilhan. How do you want to make the European ID more attractive while considering that millions of fellow citizens are not at all enthusiastic anymore about the EU? Ilhan, 1 minute, please.
Well, actually, I have the answer. Citizens were telling to us in 2019 when I was running for European elections, in 2024 when I was again running for European elections, and the answer is very simple. They like the European Union as a project, but they don't like this European Union because they find it too bureaucratic, too complicated. And the answer today is not more Europe or less Europe. The right answer is more efficient Europe. And we had a long process of listening exercise together with the citizens, and with you, Dietrich, and the Secretariat, we We had a good example of organizing town hall meetings, traveling from Sarajevo to The Hague, and just in a couple of minutes together with Annelou, we are going to attend another one in Sofia. But this shouldn't be only a listening exercise. It's time for reform. And the citizens were telling to us, we don't like too little, too small European Union. We have to get rid of the unanimity rule. We have to abolish the unanimity rule in order to make European Union a real global actor. And we need European Union not only to be strong at worldwide stage, but also delivering back home on rule of law and other fundamental issues. So we know the answers. We need reforms, and let's be bold and implement what citizens were telling to us in the last 12 months.
Thank you very much, Ilhan, for this. The next question is for Daniel. Daniel, the question that was asked to you is, what can you do in order to strengthen the rights of individual members of the ALDE party? So a question on how you think you can strengthen their rights.
Yes, thank you. As some of you may know who are watching, Sal Brinton and I have been working for about a little more than half a year now on reforms of the ALDE individual member community. There were quite a few conflicts, questions about, the aim of AIM, as it were. So I'm confident that this reform process will lead us to an inclusive community, a safe community, and most importantly, a community that achieves the goal of AIM, which is to interact with European policy, to bring the people closer to European policymakers, and to have debates on these issues rather than infighting and these sorts of conflicts. So I'm very happy to look forward to the Friends of ALDE platform, which we'll talk more about at Congress.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for this short and concise answer. The next one is for Anna. How can ALDE ensure that the minorities are heard, protected by EU politics, and which one would you work on? Minorities question for you, Anna.
Thank you very much. Well, again, it's a big question, kind of like what Svenja said before. We can't just do it one person, but we can do it one person at a time, and we can do it one policy at a time. So I think, especially with regards to being protected in Europe, I think we have to work on the EU level very strongly, because that is one of the issues where the EU can actually really work on. So yes, it's an issue for ALDE, but it is also an issue for us to lobby for that within Renew and lobby for that within the European Parliament. But on the level of the member organizations, I think something that Svenja has said before is very important. I think if we want Europe to look a certain way, we need to work on ourselves first. Like I've said before, it's always important to start with yourselves. So I think, supporting the member organizations in pushing legislation within their countries, providing them maybe with, just templates and help to both provide more opportunities within their own countries, but especially also within their parties. And I've been asked who to focus on. I think that's a very difficult one, because honestly, you have to focus on everyone. And I know I said, we start one person at a time, but I believe that supporting minorities, if you only support one, then you're doing something wrong. I think we need to work on a society where all minorities are raised and all minorities are supported in a similar way, because otherwise, you're helping one, but the other one will still suffer. So I hope that answers the question.
I think you really did, and especially in a short time. So thank you very much for that, Anna. I have a question for Timmy, and it is that one that came now, and is, how can we assure that digitalization does not leave people behind and businesses are ready for these times? Timmy, on digitalization.
Yeah, I mean, digitalization is such an important aspect of ensuring that we get the next wave of investment. One of the issues that has troubled me, and I think troubled most people who look to the future in terms of the creation of employment, is that why are we losing so many of our tech startup companies? I don't think we have focused enough on that in Europe in terms of ensuring that we retain companies. I mean, you look at some of the payment processing companies that started in Ireland. I'll just give an example. Stripe, fantastic business, now a leading payment processing company. But why did the two Collison brothers go to California to set up their business? Because they didn't believe that Europe had the capacity to grow the business, or that the framework in Europe wasn't to a scale that would allow the business to grow to the level that it has. So we need to address that. We need to ensure that the companies that are developed here, that the creative ideas are developed here, are retained here. And that's the way that we'll be ensured of having the employment of the future. And there's where we can become really competitive with the US, rather than having that brain drain that I think has been a feature so much of what has happened in recent times.
Thank you very much, Timmy, on this. And just as logically on this question of digitalization, I think it's fair to ask Kira, who worked in IT, about this matter. Is this very briefly, Kira, in really less than a minute, again, the same elements is how can we make sure people are not left behind? And how can your experience in this field be useful at European level? Kira.
We have seen and we have already done things with digitalization to ensure you with getting into, not getting into many details on that the edges can be actually rounded so people wouldn't feel left aside. But fighting digitalization right now, or trying to stand behind, is basically like fighting like the future. It will come no matter you want it or not. And the way and the path that we need to choose, that to make sure as a Liberal Party that we will get everybody involved. And this is what I see as my role and the ALDE Party's role. Not to stop or these processes, but make sure that we make sure that everybody is involved and everybody makes part of it.
Thank you very much, Kira, for this question, which was also the final question. And everybody have a look. It's 4:30 exactly, so we respected that very much. Excuse me. Very well. So we have respected the deadlines. Thank you very, very much for this. So I'd like to thank again all the candidates for having taken the time for this online debate. But I'd like to remind all the viewers that this is not the end. You still have the opportunity all the way until the 3rd of June to ask your questions. And also for all of us joining in Dublin, don't forget to register. First of all, at the current countdown, we have more than nearly 850. So let's make that 1,000. But don't forget to go to our website, aldeparty.eu/Congress. And let's see all of you in Dublin at the debate of 3rd June. Thank you very much to everyone and see you in Dublin. Cheers.